There we go. You're live now. You're live.
Well, hello, everybody. This is a great day to talk about what's been happening for the past year. It certainly hasn't been a normal year for, I don't think, for anybody in 2021, and what we might be looking at in 2022. So as far as, this past year, here at Azure, I mean, we've experienced particularly early spring and in the fall, we experienced very heavy sales volume for what we've normally experienced, which is great, and it's helped counterbalance a lot of the things that happened in the marketplace. So this past year, we went into 2021 with one of probably the shortest food supplies that we've had in quite a few years. Partly because of 2020, the different, the COVID and all that happened in 2020. We just went into the year with low reserves because, typically there's a fair amount of reserves in the food supply, particularly here in the US. And, but, and where we live more in the organic market, the reserves were even less. And I think a lot of that is because more people are cooking at home. And when people cook at home, they care more about their family. They're more likely to buy organic ingredients for cooking versus eating out at a restaurant or something like that, or pre-prepared foods. They're only looking at the bottom line, so very unlikely to use organic foods in a restaurant, for instance, unless they're absolutely advertising that as a big deal. So I think the organic market got more demand anyway than it normally would, and the reserves are not quite as big in the organic world as they are in the conventional world. So then, even so, fairly high demand throughout the year. And then we ended up with a drought this summer in much of the western part of the US, and particularly in the northern prairies, including into Canada and down through, the Dakotas, and that whole region there had a very serious drought this past year. And I know I spoke about that several times in materials we put out, but it did make a tight food supply even tighter. So we ended up with a lot of, some things that just were not available, and some things that it drove the price up because the farmers know it's, and know it's in short supply. They were one of the only ones to get it. And so they're willing to ask more for it. And, that is the law of supply and demand in a free market economy. So we've had to look at increasing food prices substantially. But the good news is here at Azure that counterbalancing that was the fact that we increased demand substantially. So we were able to contract larger quantities, many times, many farmers' entire supply. And so since they don't have to go out and mess with it anywhere, selling anyplace else, sell full truckloads, and we only pick up regularly, then, they're willing to not charge quite as much of a premium as they would had they had to sell smaller quantities to multiple people. So by the volume increasing here at Azure, we were able to offset many of those price increases. So we did not see the price increases. I mean, we definitely saw some. Don't get me wrong, we saw price increases this fall. I mean, some of it just purely, I think, due to inflation. Some of it just due specifically to the short supply based on the drought and what the marketplace supply. But here at Azure, because we had some of the highest volume we've ever seen in many of these basic commodities, we've been able to offset a lot of these price increases with our buying power, and we've passed that on to you. And we've told you that several times, but the thing is, hey, it didn't really look like prices went down, and a few things did go down based on our ability to have larger volumes, but mostly it didn't go up as much as it would have. And sometimes we didn't have to raise prices at all, even though the market prices increased substantially. So that's the good news. Here at Azure, we're able to get, because of the higher volume that you guys have blessed us with by, purchasing a larger percentage of your products here at Azure, it's increased the buying power, and we were able to hold a lot of lines that a year ago, I would have never thought possible to hold those lines. So that part is really cool. This fall, we had a demand spike that I completely did not anticipate. And the demand spike, we set volume records in a huge way 3 months running, well, 4 months running actually, this fall. And it definitely stretched our resources. Not so much from the supply side, although that definitely happened on occasion, but actually for the most part, it makes the supply side better because it's much easier to purchase, to contract for full loads of things and full containers or ships or farms or whatever, rather than just a few, smaller quantities, partial loads, pallets, and so on. So that helped quite a bit with the supply. But what it did, because we were able to do that, it completely maxed out our warehouse space. So our warehouse is pretty much jammed to the rafters. And plus we've got a whole parking lot full of storage trailers for trucks that we have products stored on, things that can do just fine in that environment. And so we're really pressed, and we don't really have much more space to increase our productivity. We did go to basically 24 hours a day. Well, not quite. We have a day shift and a swing shift, but we've been working till about 2:30 a.m. and starting again at 6 with the other crew. So we really only have 2 crews, not 3, but they've been working pretty long hours trying to get everything out. So but we can't really add very much to that right now because basically people just run into each other and it slows down productivity in a big way. So we're overcoming that through staggering and staging and some really interesting and fun, innovative things that we've never got to try before. And we're trying them now, and some are working. Can't say everything's worked. Some things haven't, but that's been a big part of what we've been doing for 2021. If we're looking forward here to 2022, so here at Azure, in order to solve the problem that I was just describing, we have we are looking to add on space to our warehouse, almost doubling it in size. And that should give us all the space we need to more than double in size. In fact, probably well over double in size with double the space, because we'll be able to set things up and reset it up and do it in such a way that it's the most efficient setup that possible. And after being in the warehouse, we've been in the warehouse that we're in right now since '07. So it's been quite a few years. And I think we've learned a thing or two since '07 when we set it up originally. So we can definitely set it up more efficiently. And I'm absolutely looking forward to doing that. It's going to be a really great project, and you'll definitely be hearing more about that as we move into 2022. As far as the marketplace goes, obviously we're going into 2022 with even a shorter supply than we went into 2021 with. What happens now, a lot of it is going to depend on growing agricultural and growing conditions for this growing season. Right now things are looking much better here on the West Coast. At least we've got a slightly above average snowpack right now in the mountains, so that's a good thing. It's hard to tell about the Midwest, although it appears that the drought has ended. They're getting pretty much normal winter weather. So, but there's no guarantees about anything like that, and who knows, that's anybody's guess at this point. What we are not seeing relieve very much yet is the shipping from overseas. So the imported commodities that we're importing from throughout the world, so if we're getting coconut and chocolate and whatever else from around the world, which there's quite a bit, a lot of nuts, cashews, olive oil. I mean, a lot of that comes from other countries. And we're dealing with two things. Primarily, number one is port congestion. So the ports have not been operating at full capacity. They're claiming COVID stuff. I don't know. It's more of a political thing, really, than a marketplace thing, I think, as far as many of these international ports. Most of them are overseen by the port authorities, which are in the custody of the state in which those ports are located. Obviously, many of the ports that we deal with are in California and Washington. Oregon really doesn't have a port that brings much food in. We do have one port, but it's not big enough for the really big ships that come from Asia and South America. So Washington and California, and some many shipping companies now won't even book freight to some of those ports. So it's cost, plus they've jacked the price because their ships have to sit and wait for sometimes a month or more to get unloaded. They've jacked the rates of freight. I would say on average, probably in the past year, ocean freight rates have tripled. And so we're seeing some upward pressure. Obviously, that passes into the prices. Fortunately, we are being able to modify quite a bit of that by making better purchases, but there is still definitely some upward pressure there. And then the timing is still very far out. I just got a shipment that we ordered in August. It's just coming in this next week of coconut products. And, in the meantime, we're trying to fill in. We're doing the best we can with that, but it's definitely putting, upwards price pressure on, and the guesswork that's involved in guessing 4 to 6 months in advance is difficult at the very best. If you overguess, we do have limited warehouse space right now. How many more trailers can we put out there? And so we don't want to go too crazy and over purchasing the international stuff. And yet if we go under it all, then what if it takes an extra 2 months? We won't have product for the customers or for anybody to buy. And that's a bad thing too, especially when there are these staples. I don't want to be out of coconut oil. That's a staple in our house. I don't want to be out of olive oil either. That's kind of a staple in our house as well. Or, a dozen other commodity items. Don't really want to be out of cashews or organic honey either. These are all just some of the things that end up coming from overseas. So I'm expecting, although we've kind of gotten used to it and are moving further out with our purchases, realizing the new normal is way further out there. But those purchases, the other big purchase from overseas, that is this packaging stuff. And that's been a nightmare for us. We finally have pretty much all of our packaging back in again. But for a while, we still don't have quite all of it. We're still low. We still don't have some poly bags and stuff that were ordered way back in September. But most of these packaging items come from overseas. And the timing it's just gone through the roof. What used to take a month is now taking 3 and 4 months. We just got our label order in that we ordered in September. And normally that was a 3 to 4 week turnaround. So it's just, those are some of the things, and I anticipate that's not going to completely stop in 2022. We're probably going to see most of the year still having international shipping issues. We're anticipating it. I think we'll do better keeping things in stock, but I don't foresee that coming back down or becoming easier in 2022. Although once we get the new warehouse space added on, we'll be able to have a little bit larger buffer on the upside so that we can order a little bit more and keep more things in stock and not worry about getting containers too close together. And part of our plans for 2022 as that goes on is to develop more and more products that we can order directly, not necessarily all internationally, a lot of them not internationally, even domestically, but hopefully, if everything goes as planned, you will see more and more products that we either manufacture or sub-manufacture that will come directly to with the Azure, some form of the Azure label on it. And it's one of the best ways that we can become more and more efficient to get you the best quality foods at the best prices, which is what, it's our goal, is to be able to sell in bulk, to be able to supply folks with families with the best quality foods. I want the families of America to be able to eat well and afford to eat well. And that's the primary focus. So we'll be moving into that. We also have a few other projects in the wind. We're upgrading our cleaning plant at the mill. So hopefully once that's done, we'll have a little bit higher quality grain as far as purity goes. Our cleaner got a lot of use these past 2 years. And it was a 1947 vintage model cleaner, and they last a long time. They'll last I used to say they'd last forever, but I'm finding out that maybe that's not absolutely true. But our 1947 vintage grain cleaner is getting tired. So we're going to be upgrading that. hopefully by within a few months, we should have a new system in place. We're trying to add a few more bins because right now, if two trucks come at the same time, it's quite a juggle to be able to unload. And I'm talking like bulk hopper trucks, not just pallets of product, but bulk loads. If I get, two loads of two different kinds of grain the same day, right now it's a little tough because we only have one. Well, we really have two bins, but we really only a lot of times only have one place to put it if we're in process and working. So hopefully we'll get a few more bins in place so that we can not be restricted on the bulk, the bulk loads of grain that come in, which, we get, we do a lot of those. We do a lot of bulk loads of grain, beans, different things that, feed a lot of the animal feed that you guys see in our lineup. Those are all things that come in bulk loads. And so hopefully we'll get that in place in 2022, get a little bit cleaner product and increase our volume a little bit so that we're not, backed up when multiple trucks come in. And then we're also, improving the Carob line quite a bit. That market has increased substantially this past year. So we're working on, and that's actually pretty close to completion. But you shouldn't be out on your Carob products anymore very soon. I know we've had, a little bit tough, and also the container of Carob from Australia did take an extra month. We almost made it, but there was a little gap with that. But it's part of the supply chain thing again. But mostly it's been capacity. We have to build out our capacity, which we've done. For the most part, it's mostly done. Just getting it tested and getting all the last minute finish work done on the lines and getting the food safety certifications. And it's pretty much what we're down to right now on that. So hopefully that that will be better. I'm anticipating continued high volume through this next year and really trying to build for that. And we're happy to have it and we welcome it. We welcome moving forward into this new year. We're really excited about, about doubling our warehouse space. We're really excited about offering more and better foods all the time and better value products, healthier products at a better value. And that's what I want to do all day long. And we are not going to relax our standards. The standards will stay the same. In fact, we may add a few more things to our prohibited list on things that really, shouldn't be in anybody's food. But we're getting, those standards are very important to us, and we want to make sure that the food that you get is the best that you can get in that category. So.
Well, we have a few questions that have come in. One of the questions that we have is combined from two different people wanting to know, they would like to see us enlarge our presence on the East Coast and in the Southeast. So what would it take for us to do that?
Well, I think, as far as our presence on the East Coast and in the Southeast, we've been in the Northeast for 1 year now. I think it's gone reasonably well. But the main thing is we have to get our volume up. And we actually, even when we were adding onto the warehouse, we actually toyed with the idea just a little bit of putting a second warehouse somewhere closer to the East Coast to make it a little bit faster to distribute back there. It really wouldn't save a lot of money because the majority of the products come from the Midwest and the Northwest, well, and California. We're not, not a lot of well, I guess on the East Coast, there's just not a lot of organic farm ground up and above what goes for the local farmers markets and stuff. So most of that comes from, further west here. So the freight really wouldn't save us that much to become more efficient. But we did toy with the idea, and we did the math, and we roughly need to double our sales on the East Coast with what we currently have to be able to justify a warehouse back, and I'm not saying on the East Coast, but somewhere in farther to the east, so that we could deliver much more quickly. And that's the main issue. I mean, the trucking, I mean, it is what it is. We have to, shuttle those back, but, we lose 3 or 4 days doing that, depending on what part of the country we're going to. But if we could double the volume on the East Coast currently with what we have, I think we could have a fairly viable argument to be able to justify a second warehouse that's somewhere back there, say more centrally located, maybe in Tennessee or Kentucky or somewhere, so that it could, manage both sides. And if we continue to grow at the same rate that you helped us grow last year, so if you continue to tell your friends and neighbors and make Azure even a bigger company, particularly back on the East Coast, but here throughout the country, even after we add on, if we continue to grow the same rate, couple, 3, 4 more years, we probably could definitely be looking at another warehouse back there. So I think our presence is pretty good. If there is a location where you would like us to go that we don't currently go, absolutely feel free to contact us. Our routes are not absolutely locked in stone. They can change. We can add drops. We can move things around. So if there's a community that you have that we are not serving at all, and I do realize we could be faster, the cutoff to the time, the time we have to cut it off to the time you actually get delivered, that, I don't know, worst case scenario, 10 to 12 days is unacceptable. I don't like that. I wish we could do better on that. And we will be doing everything we can to get better, even from here. And I believe we are getting better. Yeah.
So another question we have is, and this is liked by a number of customers, so it sounds like several people would like to know the answer to this question. Have you ever considered offering a substitution option to your ordering system to help customers get some of the ordered products rather than nothing? For example, if I order a 50-pound bag of flour, but the 50 pounds go out, could I get 1 or 2 25-pound bags as substitute or a different type of flour?
We've absolutely thought about doing that, yes. And we've actually even spec'd out the software to do that. But we haven't built the software to do that. It is on the list of software upgrades, but it's a rather difficult problem to solve. We can do it. We've spec'd out the software. I think we know how to do it. And it would be something where you could set that in your account. So if you order this and any of these other things are in stock, go ahead and send you that instead. We can, we would be able to do that, so you wouldn't have to choose it every time, because we find that most customers have certain things that their family uses. We do at our house. We don't use all 12,000 items that Azure carries. We have our favorites that fill our pantry. And so we do hope to have that done. I'm not promising that we'll get that done in 2022. I really hope that we do, but yeah, that has been a request before, and I would love to see that happen. But when you're dealing with software, it's a slow process to upgrade software to be able to keep track of all that stuff. Not that we've done lots and lots of software, so I know it can be done and we can do it again, and we will continue to do software upgrades. But that would definitely fall in the software upgrade category. And I love the thought. I want it to.
Wonderful. So it looks like that's all the questions that we have at this time. So,
Okay. Well, thank you, everybody, and thanks for making 2021 a great year here at Azure. And we wish you the best 2022 possible. We look forward to, even though it's maybe a troubled year politically, I trust that within the circle of your family and friends, it'll be a great year. Thank you.